Hello, it's IPC Apex Expo 2023 in San Diego. I'm joined by Luisa and Gadi from Arch Systems. Thanks for coming over.
Thank you for hosting us.
I haven't spoken to you before properly, so actually can you give me an overview of the business, what Arch Systems is all about?
So we are a data expert company, software, and our specialty is actually extracting data from machine and doing analytics, smart analytics on those data and providing valuable insights to the operation in order to improve efficiency, quality, and all the KPIs that are related. This is our main expertise.
We've been talking about this for a long time, big data, machine learning, Industry 4.0, all of these things. And it's one of these things that it took customers a long time to buy into it, didn't it? Because it's sharing. It's it's almost against the sort of instincts they'd had for the past 50 years probably of not sharing what's going on. But also strikes me as companies like yours, the real challenge is, yes, you can get a huge amount of data, but it's being able to analyse it usefully and provide the right feedback.
I mean, what we've seen at the show so far is that there is definitely a focus on data. I think we've reached this point where initially there wasn't access to the data. The machines weren't smart. Now we have access to the data, and then the problem was storage. Because you couldn't store that much data, so you had to be selective about which data you collected and which data you stored, which reduced the amount of analytics that you could do on the data. And now we've reached a stage where you can collect a lot of data, you can store a lot of data relatively cheaply, and so now it's now you have all of it. Now you collect all of it and then figure out what to do with it later. So which insights do you want to get out when you look at all this data? And at the show we're seeing a lot more focus on that. People are talking about analytics, people are talking about insights, but there is this still not a lot of data expertise within these manufacturers. So you see all this data and you're being told that analytics is important, and you reach this impasse. Where do you go from there? So I feel like that's the stage that we're at in the data.
And do you think that's a problem of educating customers to get their head around it, but also do you think there's been a bit of reticence there that actually it's a big scary thing, isn't it? You have to jump in with both feet almost.
I mean, part of we see this Industry 4.0 that are responsible to introduce into the site, and it's mind changing. I mean, you need to adopt that. Operation know that right now data is managed. They are transparent, like you were saying, to everything. So they are a little bit afraid of that. So it's an awareness, first of all. And management, like you were saying, an amount of data like that, it needs a partnership between the customer and we, which are the specific data you want to see, how you want to see that, providing the right platform and infrastructure to see that.
How do customers buy into it? Do they see a little bit of benefit and then they commit, or is it a case of them having to buy in?
So it's so the way we implement Arch is we have connectors for the machines, and so we have this objective layer on top of all of those machines where you can collect all of these data points from different machines, different segments, different manufacturers, and so the differentiator really is that we can do that. And then the buy-in is that once you get all of that data, we also run the insights on it from the knowledge that we have of the industry. We're able to provide, some of the dashboards and the reports and the KPIs that we think are going to be helpful. And so then, if the user has more that they want to learn, then there's more that we can provide as well. And so the relationship evolves in that way.
But it is, like you say, a process because the customer first of all want to see the data and what you're capable. Once they see the insight, I want to see more, and they see the benefits in them. So it's a process of interaction, seeing trustable, saying, okay, it's a lot of analytics people are talking about, but what do I gain for that? When you get to a specific point, this is what you gain, X, Y, and Z, then it's more trustable.
It makes business sense then, doesn't it? And it's creating a new information architecture around an industry that's been going for decades, so it will take time, won't it? And do you find there's a benefit of people come from different backgrounds, from a manufacturing background, software background, sort of fighting somewhere in the middle, possibly? I'm
This
sure
is
there's
one-
no arguments at all.
Yeah,
but-
this is one of the reasons I came to Art System. I'm a little bit experienced. I will not say
A
because
little
not, not to tell my ears, but I worked in several companies, Flex, Motorola, for many years. So I'm bringing my experience in production and try to embed that into the product that Luisa is managing to meet the customer need and what's the interface as well.
Yeah.
And on the opposite side,
Yeah.
I've been in the software world for many years, and I have been dealing with structured, unstructured data. How do you run analytics? How do you store it? How do you that part? And so that's where we have this meeting where I'm used to this part of how do you take data, store data, validate data, all of that, and now how do we apply it to this industry that Gadi knows so well. So it's meeting of the mind.
Yeah, and it's quite exciting because it is being able to do that in a totally new arena, really, isn't it?
Yes.
And how people are buying into this now because we've been talking for years about all of these things, and now it's rock solid business sense to do this sort of thing. So, do you find those conversations are easier with customers now that you're not having to explain like you had to explain to me around what you do?
Based on these 1.5 days, it is like you're saying. I mean, people are approaching us and saying, no, we need to enter into the game. Right. I mean, we are a little bit late, I think, and but we need to enter. We understand that we need to go. So that's coming from them, and less convincing.
And there's a flip side to that I've seen in this 1.5 day, which is now that there's this, appreciated need for it. There's a lot of talk. There's a lot of buzzwords that are being used, and it doesn't mean the same thing to all people. So people come over and they're interested in like analytics and insights, but how do you define that? And so they've heard it from other vendors who sometimes aren't even our competitors, who are doing something completely different and say that they're doing insights and analytics. And so there's a challenge of how do we specify what it is that we do and how do we differentiate in that way. But it is much more of an educated conversation at this point.
And I guess it's one of those old conundrums, isn't it? When someone comes to you, they think they know what they want, but you have to work out what they need.
It is kind of in trade-off. Eventually they come with a mind of production. They know what is the need. We just need to address and connect, our capability to his need. Tailor-made, maybe, but not sometimes tailor-made, but going to a point that we actually address the solution into the specific.
Right, yeah. And I guess it must be an ongoing relationship. Once someone is on board with you, it will continue, it will evolve and it will grow, and it's never going to stand still, is it?
No, I mean, there's a lot of insights that we can provide. So there are reports, there are dashboards, there are, a global level of a KPI view. There is doing OEE calculations, certifying OEE. There is alerts and managing actions within. So there's just a lot that can be done, and we're expanding it as well. But once that there's that buy-in, then that's smooth sailing from there.
And I guess it's a case of every customer is slightly different, so they will want different aspects and angles on it. So
the way we build our product is we have several packages. We present everything. Once we have an agreement, we decide on a POC that we run in a specific time frame, agree with him. We have a certain process, and based on that, we know what we are aiming, and then it's time growing. Okay, I want another one.
Yeah.
The customers need to see that he can trust that we know how to handle the data, and the valuable data is there.
Yeah. And do you get situations where a customer will think they've got a good idea of how their business is performing, efficiency, all those sort of things? Then you can come along and prove actually you're wrong. These are the areas where you're good and bad. I guess that's that's the whole point of it in a way, actually, isn't it? So,
You touch a right point. I mean, we're struggling with that because we got. I will talk about myself. I have a mindset of how it should be, but the customer wants completely another thing. I can try to convince, but eventually it's the customer. He drives operation. So
No, it sounds quite an exciting field to be in at the moment. So. Well, thank you for spending time to come over and talk to us. Hope the rest of the show is as busy as it's been so far.
Hopefully.
Thank you.
And we'll see you at Productronica.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you very much for having us.
Thank you.
Thank you.